Welcome to the Elder Darkness. On this journey, we drift beyond the familiar maps of Middle-earth into the shadowed memory of the world before the world, the birth of Beleriand, the first great continent of the West. The waves still steam from the cataclysm that ended Morgoth's first rebellion, and the air is thick with the scent of molten stone and newborn rain. You might find yourself somewhere in the story, because if you've ever stared at the horizon and felt something ancient stir beneath your feet, you've already been here. If you enjoy these deep dives into the legends of Arda, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the Elder Darkness, and share where in the world you're listening from. Middle-earth is bigger than we think. Now, lie back and relax as we travel to the world of Middle-earth. After the dark, the world reforged. The seas settle after Morgoth's first defeat, and the Valar reshape the land. Aman rises in the west while the first light touches Beleriand's newborn shores. The story begins in silence, or what passes for silence when continents are still forming. The Valar, those angelic powers sent by Eru Iluvatar, have triumphed in their first great war against Morgoth, who had defiled the newborn world with his arrogance and flame. In the aftermath, the seas boil, the lands crack, and light itself seems unsure of where to rest. It is then that the Valar begin to shape the world anew, carving harmony from ruin. Aman rises in the far west, the undying lands that would become their home, a realm of peace beyond the mortal tide. To its east, the great sea Beleriand swells, wide and fathomless. Beyond that, the first true lands of Middle-earth awaken. Among these, Beleriand takes form, a vast green expanse washed by mist and promise. Asi, the tempestuous servant of Ulmo, tosses the coasts into being with a lover's fury. He sculpts capes, gulfs, and jagged headlands, while Ulmo himself, deep and wordless, hums the rivers into existence. The sound of his song is not heard by mortal ears, but its echo lingers in the crash of waves and the whisper of rain. To him, Beleriand is not a continent. It is a chord in a grander symphony, a resonance between sea and soil. The Valar watch from afar, yet their hands leave traces. The Pelori Mountains rise higher than clouds, shielding Aman's blessed shores from the outside world. Across the sea, on Middle-earth's side, the Erd Luin, the Blue Mountains, stand like sentinels, marking the western edge of Beleriand. Between them stretches a wild, young realm, forested and free, where stars still shine unblinking. Even now, before the coming of the Elves, strange lights flicker across the lands. Not fire, but reflection. Pools of starlight, as if the heavens themselves weep for joy at the earth's completion. These lights ripple across new rivers, Jelayan, Nerrig, Surayan. Names not yet spoken but already bound to destiny. Meanwhile, far to the east, in the dark where Morgoth once brooded, fissures still smoke. The Valar fear to delve too deep into that ruin, wary of stirring the ashes of his malice. For though defeated, Morgoth is not gone. He is cast beyond the walls of the world, but his will, his shadow, still seeps through the cracks of Arda itself. The Valar can feel it, a stain that no light can quite cleanse. And so they work with greater care. Yavanna sows seeds of forests yet unborn. The first trees grow, not from soil, but from music. Her song blends with Ulmo's currents, and where the two harmonize, roots descend. The night fills with fragrance. Beneath the stars, the first moss covers stone. It is said that Tulkas laughs aloud as he runs across the plains, his footsteps shaping hills, his breath stirring the newborn winds. All, the smith, cools molten rock into mountains, and sometimes, when his hammer rings, Ulmo answers with thunder. Somewhere in those deep sounds, the foundations of all future lands are laid. Now, one might pause and ask, was this shaping of Arda the first time it had form? Middle-earth historians still debate whether the earlier world, before Morgoth's marring, already contained the seed of Beleriand. Some argue it was merely remade, not created. Others claim Beleriand's birth was a divine improvisation, born from destruction itself, beauty coaxed out of brokenness. Perhaps both are true. Across the ages, the echoes of that act linger. When Frodo Baggins and Samwise Gamgee stand at the edge of the Anduin, gazing westward, they cannot know that the lands beneath the sunset once reached further still, that under the distant sea lies a drowned memory older than Numenor itself. Yet something in them feels it, as if hobbit hearts remember the music of Ulmo, however faintly. The shaping of Beleriand is not without tension. Asi, ever drawn to chaos, rages against Ulmo's restraint. He wishes to pull the western shores closer to Aman, but Ulmo forbids it, fearing that the seas would drown the newborn lands. For a time, the waters rise in rebellion, storms unending. It is said the thunder rolled for an age, but finally Ulmo's calm prevails, and the western coastlines harden into form. Here the rivers carve the lowlands, and valleys deepen where once only bare rock stood. The forests of Assyriand begin to grow, 6 rivers feeding the green realm that will later house the Lykendi, the green elves. The first birds fly from the west, carrying songs gifted by Manwë himself. In the deep groves, starlight filters through leaves that shimmer silver, like reflections of the 2 trees of Valinor, Telperion and Laurelin. And so, from ruin and rebellion, peace briefly returns. The Valar rest, the stars shine brighter, mirrored on calm seas. For the first time, Arda feels balance, fragile, delicate, but real. Yet beneath the calm, the world waits, for soon, eyes will open beneath the stars, and footsteps will echo on these western shores. The awakening lands and the flow of rivers. Mountains, forests, and rivers find their places. Ulmo's waters carve the face of the continent as the first elves wander, and legends hint at the earliest roots of later realms. The light of the stars spreads across Beleriand like dew, glimmering over forests and rivers that still remember the voice of Ulmo. The air hums with quiet vitality, and each breeze carries the scent of new soil, damp moss, and untold beginnings. Where the Valar once labored, nature now takes over, steady, patient, and unshaken by divine ambition. This is the world's youth, the pause between shaping and story. Mountains rise as if waking from sleep. To the north, the Erd-Wethrin spread their snowy crowns, forming the first bulwark against Morgoth's desolation. The Erd-Gorgoroth, later a name of dread, is still only a scar of molten ridges, cooling beneath the stars. To the south, green plains stretch toward the coasts of Falas, where the restless waters lap against the newborn sand. It is here that Ulmo's hand is felt most deeply. His rivers carve veins of silver through the heart of Beleriand. The Surion flows mightiest of all, born from hidden springs in the north and finding its end in a wide delta, a mingling of fresh water and sea foam that will one day cradle both refuge and ruin. Its tributaries, like Nereg and Mindeb, shape the lands around them, whispering songs that even the Valar cannot silence. And then, one night unlike any other, the stillness shifts. Far in the east, beneath constellations wrought by Varda's hand, eyes open, the elves awaken at Quivianen. Their first breath stirs the air of Arda in a new way. Sound follows, not thunder, not waves, but voices. Music, laughter, language. The children of Iluvatar have come. When the Valar learn of this awakening, they are both awed and cautious. The elves, fair and curious, begin to wander, and some journey westward. The long migration begins, drawn by the distant glow of Aman, the light beyond the sea. But not all will reach it. Some pause in wonder at the lands that lie between, lands whose beauty is unmatched, whose rivers speak to their hearts. And so, the first elves set foot upon Beleriand. They find a realm still half-wild, where forests breathe like living things. The earliest among them to arrive are the Tatyar and the Nelir, kin of those who would later be called the Noldor and the Teleri. They name what they see, and thus language takes root in Middle-earth. Doriath's woods are not yet ruled by Thingol. Still, his footsteps echo faintly in these early days. The stars glint on calm waters, and the elves, awestruck, call the western horizon Elena, the land beneath the stars. One might smile here, for centuries later, when Bilbo Baggins composes his songs about the starlit lands of Elvenhome. He unknowingly hums the very same word. Middle-earth historians still debate whether this linguistic echo is coincidence or fate, whether Bilbo's muse was memory hidden deep in the bones of the world. The rivers of Beleriand guide the first elves westward. They rest by the Surion, and some linger long by its shores, entranced by Ulmo's distant voice in the current. It is said that Ulmo himself appears to them in dreams, vast and deep as the night sea, urging them to keep faith, to follow the call of the west. But not all heed him. Some hear instead the murmuring of the forest, the wild rhythm of osseous waves, and they choose to stay. Thus, the first divisions among the elves are born, not of quarrel, but of longing. The Nandor turn aside to dwell in the valleys of Anduin. The Sindar, led by Elwi, remain in Beleriand, enthralled by its beauty. And deep in the woods of Assyriand, a people take root who will be known as the Green Elves, or Lykendi, silent, secret, and forever bound to the forest's breath. The land itself seems to respond to their presence. Trees grow denser where they sing. Rivers sparkle brighter when they dance upon the banks. The elves' awakening marks a new rhythm, softer than the Vala's thunderous crafting but far more enduring. The world begins to dream of song. In these early ages, legends say that Ulmo himself keeps watch more closely than any other Vala. He does not dwell in Valinor's radiant halls. Instead, he walks unseen through the deeps, his thoughts carried by every stream and tide. He alone remembers that Morgoth's shadow, though distant, is not gone. The other Valar rest, satisfied with their craft. Yet Ulmo's whispers reach even Aman's shores, warning that stillness often precedes the storm. It is here that the first great debate of Arda's shaping begins. Middle-earth historians still debate whether the Valar were wise to summon the elves to Valinor, or whether they should have let them remain in Middle-earth, guardians of its natural harmony. For the beauty of Beleriand is self-sustaining. It needs no crown, no rule. Yet destiny, as always, tugs westward. Meanwhile, unseen by the Valar, deep beneath the far north, the cold vaults of Angband stir. Morgoth, though imprisoned, has left servants and seeds of ruin scattered like thorns across the land. Fires smolder beneath the roots of Grin, the Iron Mountains. Creatures crawl from darkness, blind and venomous, exploring the world their master once scarred. Even now, faint tremors ripple through the ground, reminders that creation and corruption share the same soil. In the twilight between peace and prophecy, Beleriand thrives. The forests of Neldoreth and region grow tall and vast. The first beasts roam, deer with silver hides, birds that gleam like stars, and wolves whose howls echo across the plains of Ardgalen. Not all creatures are gentle, but all are new, part of a world still learning itself. Far to the west, Aussie toys with the shoreline, creating havens and capes, Nevrast, Iglarist, and Brithambar, though they are yet unpeopled. The wind off Belagare smells of salt and starlight. Sometimes, Asia's laughter rolls over the water like thunder, startling flocks of seabirds into flight. Some elves who wander there begin to worship him as the sea friend, though Ulmo disapproves of such familiarity. And so, the tale of Beleriand deepens. Its rivers learn the languages of its people. Its coasts remember laughter. But time, though slow, still moves, and with time comes change. The harmony of the Vala's shaping begins to waver. The elves, for all their grace, bring curiosity. Curiosity becomes ambition. And in the north, ambition has always been a dangerous thing. Still, for now, Beleriand breathes easily. The starlight is constant. The sea is calm. And if one listens closely to the murmur of the Surayan, one might almost hear Ulmo's warning carried on the tide. Even peace has tides. Even stars must set. Shadows before the dawn. Peace trembles as Melkor returns. The Vala's vigilance falters, leading to secret fortresses and the forging of the first alliances. Meanwhile, scholars still debate how much foresight Ulmo truly had. The years roll like rivers, their currents carrying both light and shadow. For a time, Beleriand stands at the height of its first peace, its forests alive with song, its rivers gleaming beneath the stars. Yet the stillness that follows creation is never eternal. As the elves build their havens and their realms begin to take shape, the world shifts again, ever so slightly, as though it remembers an old wound. Far away in the north, beyond the Grin, the fortress of Utumno lies in ruin. Morgoth, once called Melkor, broods in his prison within the timeless void, but his malice, oh, his malice, is like smoke, seeping through cracks that no chain can bind. And in those cracks, shadows begin to stir once more. Creatures crawl from the dark, beasts that remember his voice, though their master is gone. Beleriand's animals begin to vanish. Whispers of strange shapes in the mist travel through the woods. The elves of Assyrian speak of a growing unease, a deep vibration under the soil, like the slow heartbeat of something sleeping too long. It is here that the first watchfulness takes root. Thingol, known then as Elwi Singalo, still roams the woods of Middle-earth with his kin. During his wanderings, he meets Melian, a Maya of Yavanna's people, in the twilight of Nan Elmoth. The forest hums when they touch hands, light meeting song, and time itself forgets to move. For years uncounted, they dwell in enchantment, and from that love, Doriath will one day be born. The rest of the Sindar wait and wait until their king returns, never knowing that their future lies bound in a moment of starlit silence. In that pause, The first seeds of kingdoms are planted, roots nourished by patience, not conquest. Meanwhile, in Valinor, the Vala prepare for change. The two trees bloom in splendor, and their mingled light spreads joy across Aman. Yet Ulmo, the solitary one, is restless. He alone wanders the deeps of the world, and he alone hears faint echoes beneath the waters, rumblings not of stone, but of memory. The music of the Aenir, the song that shaped creation, is warping. Somewhere a discord grows again. Middle-earth historians still debate whether Ulmo foresaw Morgoth's return or merely sensed the echo of his evil through the depths. Some say Ulmo's warnings to the Vala were ignored, dismissed as overcaution from a god who spent too much time underwater. Others argue that even Ulmo himself could not imagine the cunning of Morgoth's next move. Either way, when the first shadow stirs again in the north, it comes not as a roar, but a whisper. Melkor's freedom is granted. The Vala, in mercy or perhaps in hubris, release him after his long imprisonment. He walks again under the light of the trees, his eyes soft and sorrowful, his voice humble, his praise for the Vala sweet as honey. None but Ulmo distrusts him. Even Manwë, greatest of them, believes in repentance. But beneath the serene surface of Valinor, Melkor's mind seethes. He speaks softly to the Noldor, planting seeds of envy and ambition in their hearts. He praises their craft, tells them their hands could shape wonders greater than even the Vala's, if only they were free. One name he lingers on, Fëanor. And while those whispers grow in the west, their echoes reach Beleriand. Shadows lengthen over its woods. Strange fires glow far to the north, where the mountains bleed steam at night. The Sindar sense something moving in the dark, unseen but felt. Even the rivers murmur uneasily. The creatures of Assyriand migrate south, fleeing something only instinct can name. One moonless night, the first true fear enters the heart of Beleriand. A star falls from the northern sky, and for an instant, it is as though the heavens themselves have cracked. The elves of the Falas, standing on the shore, claim to hear a sound like the grinding of iron far away. Some believe it is only a mountain collapsing. Others whisper that Morgoth's hammer rings once more. And then, light from Valinor fades. Not all at once, but slowly like a dying ember. In time, the trees will fall, and the world will tremble again. But here, in this quiet before the storm, Ulmo makes his choice. While the Vala hesitate, he moves unseen across the seas, his voice deep and cold. In the dreams of elves sleeping by the Surian, he whispers, "Prepare." They do not understand, not yet. But some awaken with tears, hearts filled with a strange longing. A sense that the beauty around them will not last forever. At the same time, Ossi grows restless again. The Sea Lord, loyal yet wild, feels the tension rising in his master's realm. His waves beat harder against the western shores, throwing foam like claws upon the rocks. He mutters to the elves who dwell there, the Falathrim, that storms are coming, though not of his making. His friendship with Círdan, Lord of the Havens, begins here, a bond that will last through ages. Meanwhile, deep in Doriath's enchanted woods, Melian's song grows stronger. She senses the distant tremor of doom and weaves her power into the forest itself. The girdle of Melian begins to form, a barrier of thought and enchantment that will later keep the dark at bay. Yet even her foresight cannot pierce the full extent of what comes. It is almost comical in a cosmic way, the Valar crafting perfection in Valinor while Middle-earth quietly prepares for war. It's as if one side of the world is tuning a harp while the other sharpens a blade. Tolkien himself might have smiled at the irony. In the north, Angband rises again. Sauron, Morgoth's lieutenant, now commands its rebuilding. The furnaces roar, belching smoke into the blackened sky. Orcs are bred anew, twisted remnants of once fair forms. They spill into the shadows of Beleriand, unseen, leaving only trails of withered grass and silence where birds once sang. Feanor's rebellion and the flight of the Noldor will soon shatter the fragile balance of creation. But even before they set foot in Beleriand, the land feels the coming clash. Ulmo's waters darken, Asia's laughter fades. The Surian grows colder, as if mourning what it knows must die. And so, the continent stands at a crossroads, half-lit, half-shadowed, poised between divine design and mortal defiance. The shaping of Beleriand, once a song of peace, begins to twist into a lament. In later ages, when Gimli looks upon the glittering caves of Aglarond and murmurs of ancient craftsmanship, one can almost hear the ghost of Aulus' laughter, the same that once echoed across Beleriand's making. The memory of the West, even drowned, refuses to die. Now, beneath starlight and sorrow, the first winds of the First Age begin to blow. The fall of light and the echo of memory. Beleriand's glory peaks before its long doom. The Vala's war reshapes the seas again, drowning the West. Yet whispers of its beauty linger through the ages to the tales of Numenor and beyond. The light fades, slowly, quietly, like a great lamp dimming under waves. In Valinor, the two trees fall to Morgoth's treachery, and the Vala's radiance dies with them. Darkness, vast and unrelenting, rolls across the world, and from that darkness, fire is born. The flight of the Noldor begins, bright and terrible. Swords are drawn for the first time under starlight, and when their feet touch the shores of Beleriand, the continent, once a song of peace, trembles, for the storm has finally arrived. The Noldor, exiled and wrathful, bring both ruin and splendor with them. Feanor's sons swear their binding oath, their hearts aflame with pride and vengeance, and the earth itself seems to recoil from the sound of their words. But in Beleriand, the world watches with a kind of weary patience, as if the rivers and forests remember that it was born from the ashes of another rebellion long ago. They land upon the northern coasts, in Lameth, the great echo, where their cries of war roll over the sea and return 100-fold, haunting even their own ears. Here, Fëanor will burn the ships that brought them, severing his people's path to return. And in that act, Beleriand receives its first true stain of blood and betrayal. Southward, the Sindar awaken to this invasion, and though they do not yet know who these fiery newcomers are, they sense a shadow moving among them. King Thingol and Queen Melian strengthen their hidden realm of Doriath. Her girdle, now complete, shimmers unseen in the air, an invisible wall that even Morgoth himself cannot breach unaided. Meanwhile, in the far north, the Iron Mountains awaken. Angband's gates burst open, and Morgoth returns to his throne of shadow. He sends forth rivers of flame that sear the plains of Ardgalen and blacken the sky. The battle under stars, Daejernu in Gileath, erupts, the first war of the First Age. Fëanor's host strikes swiftly, their swords gleaming silver and fire-red under the cold heavens. For a moment, victory seems within reach. But pride, that oldest poison, returns. Fëanor presses too far, chasing Morgoth's retreating legions to the very gates of Angband. There, surrounded and struck down by Balrogs, he falls, his spirit burning away like a dying meteor. His last words curse his sons to fulfill the oath, no matter the cost. And so, the fire that shaped the Noldor now consumes them. The death of Fëanor marks the true beginning of Beleriand's sorrow. Yet even amid loss, greatness grows. Fingolfin and his people, who cross the grinding ice of the Helcarax, arrive weary but unbroken. Their courage brings balance to the land's turmoil. They establish kingdoms. Hithlum beneath the cold stars, Dorthonion high in the north, and Nevrast by the sea. Each realm glimmers like a torch against encroaching night. Círdan builds his havens along the Falas. In Doriath, the Sindar dwell beneath eternal twilight. Ulmo's voice still whispers through the Surion, guiding those who listen. And deep in the mountains, Alla's forgotten works still gleam, veins of silver and gold waiting for the hands of dwarves, the Khazad of Belegost and Nogrod, who soon come over the Erd Luin to shape their craft in Middle-earth. Their hammers echo again through the halls of stone, as they once did in the world's youth. Here, amid cooperation and conflict, Beleriand reaches its height. Its lands teem with life, its people with ambition. Alliances form between elf and dwarf, between river and stone. The Noldor build cities, Nargothrond hidden beneath the hills, Gondolin gleaming behind encircling mountains, Himring standing proud against the northern waste. The continent becomes a living map of both wonder and warning. But even beauty cannot halt the tides of fate, for Morgoth's shadow spreads, slow, patient, inevitable. From Thangorodrim, his dark citadel, the fumes of Angband drift southward, poisoning wind and water. Strange creatures multiply in secret, and the once green Ardgalen turns to ash, becoming the desolation of Enfoglith. Middle-earth historians still debate whether the destruction of Beleriand was destined from its making, or born solely of Morgoth's will. Was the land doomed by divine symmetry, creation and unmaking bound together, or by the pride of its peoples, who could not share its beauty without claiming it? Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, where myth and memory blur. Still, amid shadow, light flickers. Fingolfin rides alone to Angband's gates, challenging Morgoth in single combat. The duel is legend, one of the few moments when even the Dark Lord trembles. Though Fingolfin falls, he wounds Morgoth 7 times, his blade Ringil biting so deep that the scars never fade. When his body is borne away by Thorondor, the king of eagles, the mountains themselves seem to mourn, their peaks echoing the sound of beating wings. Time flows onward. Generations pass, heroes rise and fall. The tales of Búrin and Luthien unfold, love defying the gates of hell itself. The Silmarils are stolen and reclaimed and lost again. Each victory feels like a sigh against the roaring sea. Yet for all its tragedy, Beleriand's story is one of magnificence, of beauty so radiant that even its destruction cannot erase it. At last, the War of Wrath comes, the final battle between the Valar and Morgoth, the unmaking of the world's first continent. The seas heave, mountains crumble, and the very bones of Arda shift. Beleriand, proud and green, sinks beneath the waves. The rivers that once sang of beginnings now fall silent under endless water. Only the tallest peaks survive, becoming islands in the New Age, Tol Morwen, Himling, and the sacred Isle of Baelor. The survivors flee eastward. From their grief will rise Numenor, a new hope, a new arrogance, a new doom. And though Beleriand is gone, its echo lingers. The elves remember. The dwarves speak of it in low tones by their forges. Even in the Shire, when Samwise Gamgee tells tales by the fire, the faintest glimmer of that ancient world flickers in his words. For the sea keeps memory. Beneath its depths lie the halls of lost kings, the roots of drowned forests, and the bones of forgotten wars. And sometimes, when the moonlight falls just right upon Beligeir's waves, sailors swear they can see pale ruins beneath, as though Beleriand still breathes in its sleep. And so ends the first great continent of the West, born from light, shaped by song, and undone by pride. Yet its spirit endures, woven through every tale that followed, a reminder that nothing truly vanishes in Middle-earth. It only changes form, waiting to be found again. The waves calm, the stars return, the world exhales. The voice that once sang Beleriand into being now whispers through the ages, softer than wind, older than time. The rivers have fallen silent, but their dream remains. In the shimmer of starlight on still water, in the hush before dawn, the sea, though vast and endless, is gentle now. And if you listen closely, you might hear it. A low hum, the music of the world, carrying faint memories of green hills and silver trees. The echo of a land that once was, and may yet be again, when the circles of the world are renewed. So let the mind drift westward, past all horizons, past memory itself. Let the waves carry you toward the light that never fades. Beleriand is gone, yes, but beauty does not die. It only sleeps beneath the sea. Now breathe and rest. The world is quiet once more.